people as they enter the room. Kristen, I'm assuming this is you. Kristen, was that just joined?
Yes. Sorry. You can mute yourself. Okay.
Are we still echoing? No. Okay, great. Okay, perfect.
That says again, it's saying host disabled screen sharing.
You're on there.
You're on. I'm on camera, but what if I want to share my screen? Then you should be. Did you activate Joe that she could share screens on yours?
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, make co-host. Yes. Now you should be able to do this. So I want to welcome everybody. We're going to quickly go around the room and do introductions. I'd love to start with those who are online with us right now. I can't see you very well. Would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I guess. Oh, Jill's going. Jill, you.
Sure. I'm Jill Vandemortel, school social worker, Monroe High School.
I'm Jessie Byer. I am the East County co-responder with Volunteers of America.
I'm Jeff Jolly. I'm the police chief here in Monroe.
I'm Liz Skinner. I'm the East and Rural County Prevention Education Outreach Coordinator for Domestic Violence Services.
Hi, Liz. Those in the room, would you go around and introduce yourself? Speak loud enough for everybody to hear. Next month, I'm going to have some tech in the center of the room that will help us out. Kathy, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Kathy Jackson. I'm the family engagement liaison for the district, and I support Rylands Elementary, Maltby Elementary, Park Place Middle School, and Hidden River Middle School.
Ken Stina, student support advocate at Hidden River Middle School and Maltby Elementary.
And Amber Meta, and I am from Park Place Middle School, and that's student support.
Chris Gray, House of Hope. Sarah Lundstrom, co-executive director at Take the Next Step, Monroe's nonprofit family resource center.
Sarah Morgan, the other co-executive director at Take the Next Step here in Monroe.
Tammy Amador, Calcer Park.
Aubrey Rudd, just served. And Maddie Lauer, student assistance professional.
Aubrey, I've never seen you in person before.
How's it going, Joe?
Hi, so the agenda is really small today. I didn't even publish it because we're going to focus on mental health access in Monroe and Sky Valley. And so I have two guests here with us today. My first guest is Kristen Sposito from a company called Care Solace. Care Solace is going to position us to open up mental health access and navigation services widespread, in addition to the other work that we're doing with our partners in the community. And so the idea was for her to demo the system and open it up to your expertise so we can ask questions and consider how this might fit within the work of the school district and within the work of our partners who are at the table. I invited Sarah and Sarah here especially because there might be one-on-one overlap where we can get you trained with us. And since you're supporting our kids and families, make sure you have access on the back end too. And then our other guest is Jessie Byer. She introduced herself. Jessie was just hired as our mobile mental health specialist. And after Kristen shows us the demo, she's going to introduce us to her work with first responders and crisis responding in the community. So Kristen, I'm going to invite you to share your screen and it's all yours. I'll mute myself over here so you can unmute yourself there.
And that microphone will be picked up.
Okay, try that.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Can you hear Kristen if she's speaking from where she is?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so I just have a few PowerPoint slides to share with you guys, and then I'll show you the actual system. Care Solace is really on a mental health care mission. We just want to help families navigate a very burdensome, cumbersome system. I do this for a very personal reason. I'm a single mom, and these are my 3 kiddos. And my daughter over to the left really struggled in her junior year of high school. Prior to that, there really wasn't any problems, and it just was really difficult for me to get care, even with the help of my medical doctor. It took me over 8 months to really find care that she would be receptive to. And when I finally did find her some care, she weighed 82 pounds. So this is something that we still live and breathe every day in my household. So this is a little bit dated information. We're working with over 750 school districts. We've helped well over 4 million students and 15 million staff and family members. So when I talk about Care Solace, we not only assist students when a district partners with us, but we assist everybody in their family, and then as well as staff and everybody in the staff's family. So we've kind of been conceptualized as the Lyft or Uber of mental health care. So just as when you order a driver and you want to get to that destination, we want to do that for families. When they need mental health care, we want to get them to their destination as quickly as possible. So these are the barriers that we all know exist in the system, and this is really what we're here to tackle. We have over 400 care companions doing this work for us, and we do this work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So if somebody needs to talk to us in the middle of the night to help get an appointment squared away, we're going to be there for them. So one of the primary barriers is insurance, and we are experts at insurance navigation. So we know every insurance that's operating in the state and in all of the states that we operate in, and we know exactly the different plans that they offer. And more importantly, we know from a provider perspective, who's taking those plans. We know social stigma is very much at the forefront of what we do. So we make sure to be keenly aware of the cultural needs of the families. And that same thing goes for languages. We speak 7 languages in-house, and we partner with a translation firm to accommodate over 220 languages. And that's not a Google Translate. We have actual translators. And then I would say the other biggie is the wait lists. So we've managed to navigate the lengthy wait times. Our national average is 5 days into an appointment. And I want to also point out that we're working with all levels of need. So we go well beyond individual therapy. So think transitioning off of a psychiatric hold, a medical detox, any area of mental health care or substance use that your district families need. That's what we're here to help with. And I'll throw in another stat that it's about 47% of what we do, what we coordinate, is outside of individual therapy. So the reason that we do this is we feel that families in times of crisis shouldn't have the burden of coordinating care, and we don't feel that school staff should be expected to be experts in care coordination. So it's our goal that when someone reaches out to Care Solace, either individually or through the help of a school counselor or administrator, we want to have a minimum of 2 to 3 options for care within 24 to 72 hours. We want to have to that family 2 to 3 options for care that have availability within 1 to 2 weeks. And then with that family, review those options, and then they can weigh in on who they think would be the best fit for them. So I also want to add that in this work, in order to meet that 24 to 72 hour commitment to reach back out to the families, and in order to make that first appointment happen within that 1 to 2 week time frame, we're averaging roughly 60 calls Our care companion team is averaging roughly 60 calls to make those timelines happen. So I'm going to jump into the tool, but I just want to point out that we don't interrupt or disrupt any school-based services. So think of us as an action arm into the community when the need arises outside of what the school offers. So let me exit out of this and jump into the tool. So now there's 3 components of Care Solace. There is our community-facing tool that your district family members can access. They can call and talk to a care companion, or they can search anonymously. And again, this is 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And then we have, so this, of course, is you can search on the website or call and talk to a care companion. And then we have a component that is used by school staff. So I'll start with this community-facing tool. So Monroe will be given a custom URL that can be put on the district website, school websites. We encourage it to be on any out-of-office replies from district personnel, school counselors, administrators, along with our phone number that folks can either call or text to reach a care companion. So let's just say for this purpose that I am a parent or guardian in your district, and I've just learned about Care Solace and I want to see what this is about, whether it be for myself or my kiddo. I can do an anonymous search on my own. So right here, this is an anonymous search tool. I can search for a student. I can search for one of my family members, or a staff member can do the same, search for themselves or a family member. So we'll just say I'm searching for my kiddo who is a student. Think of this as a very high level, very forgiving pre-screen tool. So I don't need to have, of course I'm going to have these initial questions accurate, but I can always reach out to a care companion if I need additional help. We'll say I've got a 15-year-old. Now this question is meant to better serve, and of course the families can decline to answer, but it does provide some very nice district data. So now, again, think of this as a very high-level pre-screen, but also this kind of showcases the areas that we work in. So you can see all of the DSM-5 categories represented here. We've also included couple and family counseling because we know that oftentimes it's the parents that could use some additional support. And then we have all of the addictive behaviors represented here. So, you have everything from alcohol to cannabis to vaping, which is very helpful if your district has an anti-vaping policy. I'll tell you what we, some of the prominent areas that we assist in with anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, trauma and stress. Now, again, being that this is a very high level pre-screen, I don't necessarily have to be exactly accurate. If I'm a first time, if this is my first engagement with getting mental health care supports, I'm probably going to select individual therapy. But let's say I'm searching for my spouse or another child in my home, and we've done individual therapy, and we know that that's not the path we need right now, and we know we need a medical detox or something different, we can select that too. But for this purpose, we'll do individual therapy. Now, again, we work with all levels of insurance, so we want no barriers for families to get access to mental health care. So we work with private insurance, public insurance, self-pay or sliding scale, no insurance. So I'm going to type in Molina because it's a prominent provider here in the area. And then I apologize. In that logging into Zoom, I did not grab Monroe's.
9272.
Thank you. And then the system defaults to 15 miles, but you can extend that if you've got some sites that are more rural in nature. And then telehealth options, they can choose yes or no if they want telehealth options. Most of the time, our families select yes and doing this anonymous search, but just know that we're not strictly telehealth, and we do recognize that some of those, little kiddos don't really respond very well to telehealth. So now my system is aggregating providers, and as a parent or guardian, if I'm using this tool, I'm prompted again to call a care companion, because really This is what we're here to do, is we're here to hold their hand and do this work for them. But let's just say I still want to search on my own. Now the system is going to aggregate providers, and you'll see this CareSolace verified icon right here. So providers cannot pay to be a part of our service, they apply. And we take on the burden of verifying their licensure and making sure that they have a high rating with the Better Business Bureau. So now as a mom or a dad or a parent or a guardian, I can go through and make these calls on my own, or I can let a care companion do the work. And this is that external facing tool. Now I'll show you the internal tool. This tool is used by counselors, administrators, school social workers. For this, I'm going to talk to you about this from the lens of school counselor. So I'm a school counselor here, and these are all of my cases that I've referred over to CareSolace and through a warm handoff. And then down here, you can see, you can click into each student's name and see exactly what's going on with their case. So let's just say I've got a kiddo in my office and we've decided that, you know, we need supports outside of what the school has to offer. I can do a warm handoff. So this is a warm handoff for a student. However, if I'm working with the family and I know that a parent or guardian is struggling as well, we can do a warm handoff for a family member. A staff member can do a warm handoff for a staff member as well, like an administrator can do a warm handoff for a staff member as well. So we'll say I've got a kiddo under the age of 18. In Washington, we need verbal consent. If they are over 13, then they can self-consent, and we walk through that process in a training that we'll have for everybody here. So I'm just going to put in some very basic information. This just really allows for a more empathetic introduction from our care companion team when they reach out. So I'm going to put, you'll see a lot of my kids' names in my account here. You can see all the language represented. We can put a preferred name. I need to add one parent or guardian, but I can add more. Now, indicating if they're willing to receive a text message is pretty important, because that we do a lot of communication with our families by text. And then this is an important field, best time to contact. So again, we're 24 hours a day. So you can put any time that's best for the family. Maybe they work, you know, a crazy work schedule, or maybe they just want to talk at a certain time when they have some individual time. So we'll just put, you know, Saturday between 1 and 3. Now I can add an additional parent or guardian. Email address is optional. And now this box, this is just, you know, letting the care companion know what we're looking for the kiddo or family. So we'll just say, family loss, and, you know, we are aware of some possible substance use. So now I hit submit, and I get a message that we've got it from here. Now, within 15 minutes, kiddo's going to show up in my dashboard and be assigned to a care companion. Now I'll show you what case details look like. So here's my kiddo's name. Here's parent and guardian. Here's my care companion, and I can easily reach out to my care companion if the needs of the student change. Let's say at first we're looking for some, you know, some supports with substance use, and kiddo overdoses and is hospitalized, you know, over the weekend, and we learn about it on Monday. I can easily email my care companion and say, hey, we need to change course here. Kiddo is needing more intense care. So you can see this is basically a communication log. You can see where a care companion has been texting with the parent or guardian. They do a brief screening, And, do you have insurance? Do you not have insurance? Is there a type of provider that you would like to see? Is there any, particular needs that they have in a provider? You can see here where the care companion has matched providers. And then now you can see here where the care companion is again communicating with the parent or guardian about those matches, who would they like to try first. Now you can see here when the appointment is made. So you've got date and time of the appointment. This just allows for a more meaningful conversation with the kiddo, give them a word of encouragement, maybe leading up to that appointment. And then even more important than that, that enrollment is confirmed. So now you know that your kiddo student has attended. So on that date of attendance, within 24 hours of their appointment, we're going to call and make sure that they like their therapist or their provider. If they don't, we're going to go back to the drawing board. Let's just assume that they're happy with their care. We're going to do another follow-up in 2 weeks and then again in 30 days. So that is that internal tool used by administrators and school counselors. Then I can just show you, I thought it would be nice to show you a usage report. And I brought up Oak Harbor. And I think Oak Harbor is a very nice district to share because, they're on an island. So you would think that access to getting supports would be difficult, but we've had amazing success with them. You can see here the warm handoffs each month, how many kiddos are getting handed off through that warm handoff process that I just showed you. You can see the numbers of families that are calling in to get help from Care Solace and the anonymous searches. Now the family initiated cases is opt-in information, so they could choose to not disclose, if they wanted to do this anonymously through the help of a care companion. Now you have here the gender makeup of the families that we're helping. We've got the age groups. You can see here adolescence is at 49%, which is, probably everyone in this room probably can say, yeah, you can see that. Then we've got little kiddos representing 25%. And then I think this is very interesting. We've got adults representing 26%. Now we know that our parents and guardians are getting the help that they need. You've got the ethnicities by group right here reflected. And then you can see the areas where we're helping, the substance use areas where we're helping, and then the mental health categories that we're helping out in. And as I showed you on that first sort of like very forgiving pre-screen, well, this is, it does ring true in the district reports. These are the areas that we help a great deal in. And this is real-time data. So you can, as a district, you can see this at any given time. But we've got anxiety, of course, depression, trauma, suicidal ideation, and then we have a big chunk here in that family and couple counseling. Here you can see the insurance companies that we're working with, and I like to just point out, this no insurance sliding scale. I like to point this out because we do, in fact, work with families with no insurance, and that they need that sliding scale option. And then we've got several of the state level insurance providers. And then this is very helpful. These are the top providers that are providing services to Oak Harbor. So this is just really nice information. Maybe there's a provider that they weren't aware of that in their community, and maybe that prompts a new MOU agreement. It's just really nice data for the district to have. So that's Care Solace in a nutshell. I wanted to try and keep to my time frame, but I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
I have a question. At the very beginning, you were talking about consent. Is that consent like for mutual exchange of information between the students and the counselors?
That's consent for our care companions to call and do the work of the care coordination. Okay. So if you wanted that information shared, you would then contact the provider and share information.
What are our feelings about what we've seen so far? Oh, Jill.
Just another question around the last screen that you showed around the district or the data that is collected. I know you said that it's anonymous. Are there any other pieces of data that is collected, or is it just limited to what you shared?
So a district can always submit a data request, and I want to just clarify on the district data that I showed you, that's all warm handoff data. So like the where we're serving, I'm sorry, let me back up. That is all warm handoff data, and then families that opt in to disclose, yes, we're working with Care Solace. But yes, you can request data. So I'll get requests from districts. Like I just got one out of Oregon. They wanted to know, what percentage of their cases were utilizing a certain state insurance plan. So it just depends on the data request, but I submit those quite often. A couple times a week, I've got a request for data that I submit.
Other thoughts, questions? This is a tool.
And well, I had just one other question. You mentioned that providers have to apply to be a part, but then I see you have a pretty broad range of providers. So I don't want to assume anything, but I'm assuming that you guys on your own are gathering local resources and counselors and.
Yes, absolutely. So we of course want providers in our database. So whenever we partner with a district, we send out with the district, in conjunction with the district, we send out kind of like just a who we are letter to the providers and please apply. And it just, outlines the verification process that they go through to be a part of our database. And so, yes, I mean, we encourage providers to apply. And whenever we enter into a new area, we do what's called a scrape of all providers in the area and let them know that we're here doing work and please apply.
I want to let you keep going, Jill.
No, those are my big questions. So.
Jill, do you see this as having the potential to enhance your work or negatively impact it? Would it be useful for you?
No, I mean, I think this is, it seems, so far really great. Just, yeah, I was, wondering about kind of just the data that's collected and, hearing that it's anonymous, but just wanting to know a little bit more about what other, I guess I don't know the questions to ask because I don't know what other tools or data segments you're pulling from or what we could have access to or what people would. That's my only questioning. I don't know if you're familiar, if you've ever heard of Quartet. I think that's used more for it's mental health it sounds similar, mental health access and services, but more through medical professionals. So it seems kind of similar to that. So I think so far it seems really, really great. So.
Yeah, and then, there is the anonymous option for families, but any student data is going to be reported when you are doing a warm handoff. So that's when, through that warm handoff process, you'll get to see the students, that communication log, make sure they, made it to their appointment. If they didn't make it to their appointment, Care Solace, if they didn't make it to their appointment, Care Solace has done that check and, there'll be a reason why maybe there was a transportation issue or something came up. And in the instance of something like that, we get them rescheduled. So, but on the data piece, if there's anything that crosses your mind that you would like to know, just send it over to Joe and he can send it over to me and I can put in for a data request.
Chris, Ray.
Yeah, a couple of questions. Now, are you a nonprofit, a government agent? So you get your funding for?
So we have a nonprofit arm, but we're a company that started in 2017 and we're focused on school districts. We have a board member who was a former superintendent. So yeah, we're just a company out of California that's grown quite a bit, through the pandemic, of course, but we've been doing this since 2017.
Okay, one other question here, the care
Coordination.
What's their background? Are they volunteers? Are they?
No, they're paid employees. So we have in our care coordination team, we've got over 400. And think of that, they go through, I believe it's 160 hours of training in empathy so that they can have that empathetic conversation with the families and,
But they're not therapists themselves, they're.
we're not therapists. We're just coordinating that therapy, yeah. But they are managed by a clinical team. So if there's a case that escalates, again, a good chunk of what we do is outside of individual therapy. So oftentimes, cases will need to be escalated to our clinical team, and then services are, coordinated at a higher level because it's a higher need.
Thank you.
Take the next step. Would there be any value for you to be a part of this with us when we have training?
I mean, it seems like a really awesome service. I've been waiting for the catch.
You know what? I love presenting when there's school counselors in here because it's, I presented to like every school counselor in East Valley over in Yakima, and they were looking at me like, whatever, you can't get that into an appointment within 1 to 2 weeks, but we're doing it. But I'm telling you, it's a lot of work. I'm sure there's nobody in this room that has time to make 60 calls for any individual that needs care and then make sure that their insurance is what that provider takes and the back and forth. So it's the burden of that care coordination that we're lifting from the school district and from the family.
Yeah, it's one of the toughest jobs to do.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. And then to tell families like, well, it's 3 months and things like that.
Yeah.
And Kristen, would you remind everybody who will have access one more time in terms of the community?
Oh, okay. So it's for your district, but it's for your students, all their family members, staff, all their family members, and we work age 3 to 70. And so, and I see the 65 plus age group on district reports quite often. So we really just want to support that whole family because we know that the kiddo is going to perform better when their family is supported.
And then right now we have the funding to move forward with this on a pilot basis. What was the term we talked about?
It's between 15 and 16 months. I believe it's going to be 16 months after. Yeah.
So that gives us a little over a year to track down alternative funding sources. And I think there are options out there. As a coalition, we've never had a problem tracking down money. So I'm just going to get to work. What's paying for this is a grant, 2 grants actually from the city of Monroe. And we're grateful for them. But I'm wondering if anybody has any red flags that have come up today, or if there are other concerns.
So when will this roll out? When will the other school counselors be aware of this? Because I can already see.
Yeah,
Sharing.
today was an opportunity for those who could join us to ask questions I couldn't think of, and like really see if there are any red flags that are emerging from this group. But if we're satisfying Jill, I'm pretty sure anybody will. Yeah.
I can hear that.
I'm teasing you. But so I don't see, I didn't see any drawback to moving forward. And this is kind of the opportunity to say, well, have you considered this challenge? But I don't see any of that emerging here either. It's more about trying to understand what we can unlock with the system and the data we get. So yes, Sarah.
Can you talk about like the process for release of information? Like, I imagine, like, how am I sharing a family's information with you? Like, I imagine that we would be getting a release of information to talk with you, or is there a confidentiality agreement that you work within, or how does that work? Or you imagine that I'm filling it in with family next to me?
So we just need verbal consent. So if you're going to do a warm handoff, I would just pick up the phone, get verbal consent, just say, you probably had a few conversations with the family, but you just say, student Kristen is ready to get support. And we have a team of people who can coordinate this. Can I put a care companion in touch with you? And then through that verbal consent, then you are able to send that information through that warm handoff. process, those 3 fields. In those fields, we're not taking any protected data. It's a HIPAA compliant environment. And so, so we're just basically allowing us to call and coordinate the care. But beyond that, we're asking them insurance questions, but we're not taking any protected information. So when you know that they have an appointment and you want that sharing of information with the provider, you would be doing that on your own. You would have that release filled out by the family.
Kristen, locally, you're supporting Everett,
Everett,
Edmonds.
Edmonds, Tumwater, Oak Harbor, several through the central state. It looks like you'll be piloting at the same time that Bellevue is piloting.
Great.
So, and yeah, I think you'll be very impressed with the data right out the gate. We're trying to do this quickly. So as soon as, it just depends on your approval process, but you'll have the URL to hand to families right away. And then typically, so we train counselors, it takes about 40 minutes to get through training on basically how to do that warm handoff and how to escalate a case if you need to. And typically counselors have a list ready of warm handoff steps. So you'll see, like when I sign a district that first month, there's a significant amount of warm handoffs. And then again, we are, all year long. So families can call in or text in or inquire through the website during the summer months. But this also allows, you to get families dialed in. If you have some families on your radar that could use some supports, they'll get that during the summer as well.
I mean, I could easily see the coalition doing, community education around this and teaching parents how to teach other parents to use this. And I mean, the coalition has we've suspended a Spanish language mental health access campaign. And I don't know, did you show us, it's available in any language when you're surfing the website?
Yes.
On the web portal?
Yeah, and we can do parent communication in any language that you need. So you'll have some parent communication that we'll send out, through newsletters and, if you want me back here for like a community event that you're having, more than happy to do that. Yeah, I'm doing one actually. I'm doing it by Zoom because I'll be out of town. But Mount Adams, they're doing it like a mental health awareness night. So any kind of support that you need, we're here for it.
One more question. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, do you have more information around the screening process for providers? I'm just a little
The screening process for providers
that are like
in our database.
Yeah.
So we verify that their license is in good standing. We do this on a yearly basis, and that they're in good standing with the Better Business Bureau.
Okay.
So we want them to have a high rating with the Better Business Bureau, and their license is in good standing. Now, if a district has a concern about a provider, and you would not like us to not refer to a certain provider, then that's just a conversation you have with your client success manager, and we can accommodate that. We can also refer to MOU providers in a certain order if you would like to.
Other questions?
I have one more question. So when you show the warm handoff data that we can see who we've referred and where they are in the process, who all has access to that information, and do the students know who has access to that information?
So a school counselor would only see their cases. So you have your own unique login password to your own dashboard. And then there's an administrator view. They can see everything. And then students wouldn't see anything.
Do students know that admin can see their information?
No, well, that wouldn't come up. Unless you disclosed it, we wouldn't be saying. I don't see how, I don't know, how would that come up?
I'm just thinking, you said admin has access to all the students in the school?
So
That
when
have warm
we
handoff?
set you up, there's administrator views, and then there's school counselor views. So any user of the system would have a view that's custom set up. So if you wanted limitations on certain, certain users, one school counselor is probably not going to want another school counselor to be able to all of their cases that they refer to Care Solace. So they have their own dedicated dashboard. But an administrator, depending on their privileges, I guess, within the system, they could potentially see everything.
I think this is something we can develop internally. What do we want our protocol and disclosure protocol to look like?
And then we would just set up those views or access according to how you guys, wanted it.
Any questions online?
No, I think that was Tammy, you were talking, that was kind of my question, if it's anonymous, but then if there's student names, and I know for some families, privacy is very, very important.
Yes.
And so if they're accessing this website, but then an administrator can see that, Johnny Smith is in the pipeline of Care Solace getting connected, then it's no longer anonymous because their name is then attached. And whether they've shown up for an appointment or they have missed an appointment, and maybe because I'm not in, that screen right now, maybe I'm thinking it's doing something it isn't, but if I hear anonymous, but then I see student names and other people accessing that, I'd want to be really transparent with kids and families.
So the anonymous tool is not tracked in your dashboard. So in your dashboard are all of the kiddos that you've done a warm handoff to Care Solace for. So that's where you get the verbal consent and you actually submit their information. But if I'm a mom and I don't want the school district to know that I'm looking for help, I can do it anonymously and you would never know.
Can students do that too? Like if I'm working with a student and, I'm doing the warm handoff, but they're like, I don't want other people outside of this office to know, maybe a parent or guardian if they consent to that, but they don't want whoever the administrator is to know. Are we able to put that in anonymously?
So if they're of age of consent and they want to self-consent, they would, so let's just say you've got a kiddo in your office and they don't want their parents to know, they only want you to know. They can pick up the phone with you there, help, to be an encourager. They can call Care Solace and say, I'm of age of consent. I want to get help coordinating care, and we will do that. And then additionally, we will not bill their family's insurance. So we will look for the appropriate care based on their individual needs. If they need to remain completely anonymous, we don't want mail going to the home with insurance billing on it.
And I think, Jill, as a comprehensive school counseling program and a behavioral health team, we'll probably need to do some work around how we want to set up that access to the dashboard. We'll explore whether or not there are de-identified data options for others. It sounds like if you make the warm handoff referral through your account, you're the only one who sees that. But we'll get clarity around that. This seems really important.
So what I can do is just get the actual policy on what I'll say is internally, and I'll do it to our clients. When you partner with us, you have a client success manager. And so they basically are the ones that are setting up the different views and access levels. So I'll just clarify. I don't even really, I know what the answer is going to be. I mean, if you want somebody with no access to any other school, if you have an administrator who does not want to see any of the data in each counselor's dashboard, I know we can do that.
Yeah.
So I'll just get it in writing, I guess, and forward it over to you, just so that you know that, we can do this. And it's, I'm sure it's not uncommon to, restrict views. So
the other thing we can do, since there are so many local districts that are using this, we can reach out to them too and see how they problem solve this.
yeah, you know what, I'll send you, I probably have given you references, but I'll resend them so it's fresh in your email. But like the assistant soup over at Oak Harbor is really, really helpful. And
Great.
yeah. Everett would be a good resource. They've been on board I'll send you a few that have been using us for a few years because I'm sure they tweak
That would be
some
great.
things, over the course of the last 2-3 years, they may have tweaked some things, or they can give you any, lessons they learned through the first year or whatever.
Any questions, Ken, Amber?
When does it start?
We're working on that. We're working on that. Since I don't see any overarching concerns.
Soon as in the next 30 days or sooner?
I think it just really depends on,
Yeah, it's gonna depend on the school board. From here, it's gonna depend on the school board. So we have the funding in place now. I just need to follow through. We need to work with tech to get a data agreement signed, and since other school districts have already put a data privacy agreement in place with you, if you already might be part of the data collaborative, that
I
lets
should
us
be.
just check it off. So soon.
we're trying before we go one. And as soon as, within, literally within a day or two of the contract being signed, the service agreement being signed, you'll have that URL, and then we'll schedule the trainings. And we just do 2 trainings. We do trainings we can do as many trainings as you need, but there's just one training for school counselors and then one training for admin to introduce them to the service.
For me, this is one of the most exciting things we're gonna move on in the last several years. So I'm really excited for how this opens up care for families. Okay, if there are no other questions for Kristen, I'm gonna give the floor to Jesse Beyer, who's been waiting so patiently. Jesse, I'm also curious to know if there's some overlap in what we just talked about with the work you'll be doing in the community. But the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I know a couple of you, so it's nice to see some familiar faces. In terms of, well, actually, I'll start with kind of an overview of my program and what I'm going to be doing, and then maybe speak about how there could or could not be some overlap between what Kristen was just talking about and what I do. So as I mentioned in introductions, my name is Jesse Beyer. I am the new East County Crisis Co-Responder with Volunteers of America, Western Washington. Again, I know some of you are familiar with this program, but for those of you who are not, this is a new initiative whereby me, Crisis Co-Responder, will be partnering with first responders in Monroe and Sultan and up and down the Sky Valley to respond to mental health crises in the community. So Chief Jolly and I have had some great conversations. I've gotten to meet a few of his team members. And then we also have partnerships with Monroe Fire, Sultan PD, Sultan Fire, technically Surfer, and the department out in Sultan. But yeah, so I will be working alongside the first responders to, like I said, respond to different types of mental and behavioral health crises in the community. These could be things including sexual assaults, suicidal ideation, overdoses, domestic violence, episodes of psychosis, really anything that falls under that behavioral health spectrum that maybe the first responders are like, ooh, this is a little outside of our area of training. We're not entirely sure what to do here. I'll be able to come in and support the needs of those community members, make sure that whatever crisis they're experiencing is de-escalated safely, and then connect them to whatever longer term resources they may need, whether those be community-based or maybe resources that they already have that they're able to re-tap back into. So in terms of potential overlap, I think there is definitely a possibility. I love the ease of access of mental health care that Kristen, you and your team have put together. I think that's absolutely wonderful. I would need a little bit of time to noodle on it to figure out how potentially we could integrate what I do with what Kristen, you're doing. But I think in general, that would be a great resource to have for someone who is experiencing a mental health crisis. Maybe I do get called to a school because one of the students is having some suicidal ideation. That could be a great resource to collaborate with the school counselor with to make sure that they're getting that ongoing support and long-term care that they need. So definitely, I think there's some potential overlap. Overall, though, I think it's just a phenomenal resource. So well done to you and your team for putting that together. A few other logistical items, I guess, in terms of my position. I will be spending 2 days a week in Monroe and 2 days a week in Sultan and kind of prioritizing those cities' calls on those days. And generally, my shift hours are going to be something like Wednesday through Saturday, 2 p.m. to midnight. So kind of that evening second shift time. That's from looking at some data and seeing when a lot of mental health calls are coming in and making sure that I'm available for that, because it would be a little bit silly to have me get off at 5 p.m. or whatever, and then all of a sudden there's all these calls. So we want to make sure that I'm in the area for the bulk of the mental health crisis calls that may come in. In terms of the Sultan office, I will be out of the VOA Family Resource Center, so feel free to stop and say hi if you need anything. And then in Monroe, we're still working on an office space for what that might look like. But yeah, those are kind of some of the logistical highlights, a little bit of an overview of what I'll be doing and the types of things that I could potentially help with. I would love to answer any questions that you guys have about the program, how we may run into each other in the field, and just really how I can be of service to you. So I will turn it back over to the group.
So Jesse, how do we access you?
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you for the clap, Rachel. I appreciate you as always. So currently I can be accessed through first responders. We're not setting it up so that anyone from the community can call me out, because that could get very complicated and overwhelming very quickly. So if you are witnessing a behavioral health crisis or you are experiencing a behavioral health crisis, just call 911 and they will loop in the first responders that will accompany me, as well as make sure that I'm on that call as well.
Run a scenario by Jesse.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I asked somebody here to run a scenario by you.
Okay, go ahead.
You check your email at 7 p.m. and a kid says that they want to commit suicide.
Okay.
So Tammy, the counselor, checks her email. She gets alerted that one of her students wants to die by suicide. Where does she go?
Yeah, so in that scenario, depending on your clinical judgment of whether you think this is an immediate event or if you can do some, suicide safety planning in that moment, the best route of action to get me involved would be to call 911. And you can even, I'm going to say this and we're going to have to work this out with dispatch, but you can request that I come as well. And that way I'll make sure that if I'm available, I'm able to come out on that call. So yeah, that would be the best way. If you're like, oh my gosh, we need in-field crisis response right now, the best way would be to call 911, just mention, hey, if the co-responder is on shift, would love her out there. And then I'll get that notice and be able to respond.
So Jesse, at this point, you believe that we could request you through 911 if that was
It's in the process. So a little bit of context with that. We had a conversation with Snow 911, the county dispatch, last week, I don't even know what day it is anymore, but we had a conversation with them to kind of figure out what some of those call out processes might look like. We have some things in the work with them. As of right now, we're looking at more of an interim process where the first responders themselves would be the ones calling me. But to your point, if you call dispatch and you say, hey, it's a suicide call, we would love to have the crisis responder out there, I think it's very likely that they would be able to put that in the notes when they call out the fire department or the police department who is ever coming. And then I would be able to see that and say, oh, great, I'm going to go out on this call. Or the battalion chief or the officer could call me directly and say, hey, we got a suicide call. Would love if you could come out, and then I'd be able to come that way as well. Like I said, a lot of these dispatch methods and call out methods are still kind of in the works. And so, Joe, I'm happy to send you kind of the final plan once we have that, and you can disseminate that to everyone in the room here so everyone knows exactly how to get in touch with me.
And if I'm a parent and my child's telling me they want to die by suicide and they appear to be in crisis, as a parent, I can also call 911.
Yes, absolutely. So that call can come from a parent. It can come from the individual themselves who's experiencing suicidal ideation. It can come from a school staff member. It can come from a random community member walking down the street. That 911 call can come from anyone.
Okay, and tell me the difference between or why we would call you over care crisis line.
Definitely. So the care crisis line, they are not going to be able to come in person out in the field. They are a fantastic resource. I recommend that everyone has them saved in their phone, and you can always call them. So if you are that school counselor who gets that email and you're like, I just need some help, I need to talk to someone, call the care crisis line. They can definitely provide support over the phone. The biggest difference, or text, I think they have a text line as well, or maybe that's 988. But the biggest difference between those two programs is that I am out in the field. I will be coming in person with the first responders to have a face-to-face conversation with that person who's experiencing a crisis.
Okay, and if you respond to a person who's in crisis and you're not able to de-escalate them, what happens?
Yeah, so that's a good clarification point. So I am not a DCR. I cannot require that someone be involuntarily hospitalized, but I can kind of liaise between DCRs and the first responders on the ground and the individual that we're working with. So if it is a situation in which I'm like, I really think this person needs hospitalization, I may call in a DCR, they can make that determination, and then that person will or will not be hospitalized according to that determination by the DCR. If I am unable to de-escalate the situation from kind of a violence perspective, there will be first responders on scene. Oftentimes there will be police officers on scene, and so they will be able to help kind of manage that safety aspect of the conversation. The goal of this program is really to decrease the burden on hospitals and on these first responders to take these mental health calls that they just don't have the training for. But at the same time, they do have training in things that can be very useful in these calls. And so if, the scenario did escalate or it was unable to be de-escalated, that's when maybe those police officers could step in. Or if it's just more of a severe mental health concern, that's when a DCR could be called in to help with that situation as well.
And Jesse, what type of aftercare protocol or processes do you have? If a person doesn't need to be hospitalized, you're able to de-escalate them, do you follow up in any capacity, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so we have two really fabulous resources for this. So because I'm integrated with VOA, I'm employed by VOA, and VOA has so many behavioral health resources. The two that are most likely going to be involved in some of those aftercare situations are going to be the people from the care crisis line. So I can speak with them directly and say, hey, I'm sitting here with Susie. She was experiencing this tonight. We have a safety plan built. She's good to go tonight, but can you check in on her tomorrow? And so they'll be able to make contact with Susie the next day and have a conversation with her, check in, see how she's doing, provide connection to resources and things like that. And then additionally, out of the Sultan VOA office, we have 2 in-field resource coordinators. So if it turns out that this person who's experiencing a crisis, thanks, Chief, have a good one. It turns out that this person who's experiencing a crisis, yes, is in need of some behavioral health support, but is also in need of housing or connections to hospitals or transportation or food or some of those other resources. That's where the resource coordinators can kind of take that person under their wing and make sure they're getting connected to whatever resources they may need that Sky Valley or even up into kind of the Everett area has to offer.
Excellent. Any other questions for Jesse? Jesse, I think we're so grateful you're in the community. I know Deborah Knight and Rachel Adams, like for them, this is a huge achievement to have you here. Like Coalition is always here to support you. So if you recognize needs for community education or some other sense, as you saw earlier, we may even have access to substance use and mental health treatment data, de-identify data, but we will be able to work with you to help you understand what trends are emerging. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know you over the next couple of years.
Absolutely. Well, I'm super excited to be here. One other thing that I'll mention before I step off the stage theoretically is that we are looking to have the launch date of this program be the first week of May. So currently right now, I'm not out taking calls. I'm doing exactly what I'm doing now, meeting with community partners, building those relationships and making sure people know that I exist, that this program exists and how to get a hold of me. So that first week of May is when we're planning to launch this program and have me actually start taking calls. So I wanted to pass that on as well.
Perfect. And you're a VOA employee. Is Lindsay your supervisor?
Brandon Foister is my supervisor, but Lindsay is the supervisor of the office building that I will be out of on my Sultan days.
Great. Great. Well, thank you very much. If there are no further questions for Jesse, I just open it up to members to share or let us know about your need. And when we're done with that, we'll adjourn. Thank you so much, Jesse. We appreciate you.
Thanks again, everyone.
Anybody want to share? Anything to share? I see you have something to share. Aubrey.
Oh, me. I was gonna say, it is youth service, Global Youth Service Day is in the month of April, and so we are just trying to find maybe local things that are going on. Special Olympics, that's usually held down in Tacoma. There's a couple of options this month to help. I don't know if you have any youth that want to volunteer, but there's one in Kirkland this year, as close as Kirkland, to help with the Special Olympics. But yeah, we're really looking for, so Just Serve tries to find service opportunities in the community and post those, and you can go in and post. There's an app too. But yeah, we're just looking for meaningful service opportunities in the community and trying to get youth groups, church groups, families who want to serve and kind of love on their community, give them those opportunities. So if you guys have any in your organization, yes.
Does it have to be a community or can it be like a family in our district that needs a roof?
Oh, hey, yeah, that would be, yeah, that's definitely something. So if you go onto the Just Serve website, or you can just talk to me about that, there's down at the bottom, you can post a project, and then that will get screened by others, by the administration, and say, yes, this project's a go, and you have to have kind of like a contact person and to manage that. But that would be amazing if you have, I mean, I don't know what kind of experience or, but yeah.
And what you provide is just the manpower, or do you also provide materials?
Manpower. So yeah, materials is usually provided by whoever is doing the project. But yeah, manpower is something that we want to provide. Yeah,
Of course,
yeah,
just clarifying.
yeah.
Kimberly or Liz online, do you have anything that you'd like to share this month?
Hi there, it's Kimberly from Cascade Community Church. I'm the community care director here, and I just wanted to pass along that we have over the last couple of months started a foster care support group for the community, and would love to pass on that information if that would be at all of help for maybe some of the families that you work with. It's been a great opportunity for foster parents to get training also. So if they need to get hours, I know last month they did a first aid training at the meeting, and so that was great. And we've been just kind of trying to get the word out, and I think they're going to break for the summer in June, but we have a couple more meetings, and it has been a really fun group to watch grow and kind of meet the needs of some of the community for foster care, adult or adopted families. So if I can pass on posters to you guys or anything like that with more information, that would be great.
We'll take it all. And I see Jesse's interested too.
Okay, great. And thank you guys. I haven't been able to be here in a long time, and I'm happy to be back and getting plugged in. So thanks for sending out those reminders every month, Joe. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Liz, I saw you on mute.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? It's been nice to hear y'all talking. I've been doing a lot of different work with Sultan, Granite Falls, Monroe, a lot of different places. Did a little talk with the Growing Together support group for Take the Next Step recently. Been out in Sultan doing the Sky Valley Youth Center, hanging out with them, going to the libraries, those sorts of things. And I'm always looking for new opportunities to come and connect with youth and community members. So if any of you feel like you do a lot of that in your work and you want to connect with me and talk about education on domestic violence and healthy relationships, feel free to send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat for you all if that can be shared around. Thank you.
Wonderful. Kimberly, she's going to put it right in the chat, and then we'll make sure we get this out too. Take the next step?
Yeah, happy to give some updates. The resource center continues to be open, and we have funding available for basic needs for families to qualify. None of that funding covers rent right now, unfortunately. And we just kind of reached the end of our $10,000 for families accessing sports and activities. But we do have a donor and Pursuit Fitness who has stepped up to continue that funding, but it's coming in $1,000 per month. So I have to kind of process those applications as I get the funding in, but still hoping to continue to fund those opportunities for students in our district. We processed a lot of mental health referrals for students from our student support advocates and counselors. continue to just pay for those services and refer them on to one of the local mental health providers that we're working with. So it's been really awesome to kind of have a different story to tell about mental health, and so I'm excited for. So we still also get those families that just like, I have insurance, but I can't find anyone, you know, and we're really kind of targeting the families that don't have means to pay.
Right.
And so great to expand resources community there. Growing Together, our teen mom program, I think has more teen moms than we might have ever had, at least for a long time. So lots of expecting teens in our community, as well as teen parents, and so many teen moms that you are aware of. We'd love to have connected to the group, really just walking alongside them and helping them meet their goals and basic needs, and whatever those might be. We're also kind of looking into starting maybe a dad's group tentatively, for some of the dads that are in those relationships that are also looking for support and have reached out for support. Something we're kind of talking about, and it's still a little informal right now. Kids Club's back going, our after school program. We're serving, I think, around 45 students right now, and we're at capacity with our volunteers. So once we get more volunteers, we will happily take on some more kiddos. We have a wait list still, and these kiddos are all from Wagner Elementary. And outreach for our hospice neighbors 3 times a week continues. We just had 8 ventures graduates from one of our City of Monroe grants. So 8 out of 10 successfully completed all of their small business requirements after their small business training through ventures, and in Spanish, all in Spanish. And we were able to provide them their capital startup funds just the end of March. They all brought the most amazing food and treats for their own celebration. I mean, they're amazing women with amazing talent. So we're excited to have been a small part of their journey. I'm happy to bear the burden of eating the food. Yeah, lots of good stuff going on and coming up. And also happy to think about, you know, anyone. I know we've talked about some people, with some people in the room, ideas for the next round of art funding coming up, and so happy to coordinate on ideas around that as well.
Next question for Kids Club volunteers. For you guys to take on people on your wait list, do they need to be adults, or can you take on some teens to volunteer?
Teens are great. We just, like, the main requirement is that they can commit to 1 day per week for the duration of the school year. Because in addition to like academic and social and emotional goals, we also aim to provide every kid in the program with a consistent and meaningful relationship with an adult. That's one of the best ways to build resiliency and combat negative impacts of post-traumatic experiences. So 2 hours a week is 1 day a week. So
I forgot that we still have the free English class going on for Spanish speakers. We don't have any other, we're trying to see if there's a need for Russian or Ukrainian speakers, but I have a flyer for people who are here, or if you want one, I can send it digitally and take one.
okay. Can we also plug the Ukrainian?
Yeah.
That would be
yeah,
great.
yeah.
We would definitely have
Do you want it in
Spanish.
English and Spanish, or just?
Yeah, we are serving some Ukrainian refugees at the resource center. They are their way to Monroe, Washington.
How many like Ukrainian would you feel like would show up on a?
Okay,
But, you know, it's one,
You know, what's interesting about that is we just translated into Marshallese. Wait, that's not Ukrainian. Ukrainian and Marshallese, both groups are really growing in the Pacific Northwest. So there's somebody just brought up.
we have only one touch point with the family right now, but that person and her immediate family live with the greater family that she came over with.
know there's a handful at the high school for sure. Yeah.
And you would know that this is what I would multi too. Okay. And they're from multi. Okay, that's good to know.
Okay. We'll look into trying to find the resources for that, but yeah. We have about 15 people that come and twice a week, and it's volleyball on Fridays after class if you want to stay. We get to look at the gym and stuff, yeah. Does anyone need it digitally? I can send it again on the chat if you want.
Well, I want to thank everybody online and in person for joining us this month. Our collective work continues to make progress and in supporting youth and families in Monroe. So I can't believe we're in person.
I know.
I promise to get more hospitable as we go along. It's an adjustment. And then online, yeah, we'll have new technology by our next meeting that'll bring you closer to the action. So you're not looking at the room from across, and looking at a camera created by Owl Labs that will rotate and focus on each speaker, and you'll just be right there. So it's going to be cool. But we got approval from the state to purchase that, and we'll keep going. So thank you guys so much. And if any ahas or anything occurs to you as you have time to think about what we saw today, both Kristen's presentation of the Care Solace system or Jesse's, reach out to me. We'll get all your questions answered and start thinking about what it will look like to put this into action. I'm really so excited. I'm so excited. This unlocks a lot of opportunities for us. So you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Great to meet you.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys later.